In this short video, we'll discuss about the experimental arrangement and experimental study of Raman effect. So how Raman effect can be studied experimentally, how Raman spectrum can be obtained by the experimental setup. So this is the basic experimental setup to study the Raman effect. Basically, this experimental setup was designed by Wood, he's a scientist, and that is used for the study of Raman effect. So this experimental setup consists of a glass tube AB. AB is a glass tube. In this glass tube, the experimental liquid is placed. Okay, the Raman spectrum of the liquid has to be taken, and that particular liquid has to be placed in the glass tube. And this glass tube is closed by an optically transparent window W on one side, and on the other side a horn is connected. This H represents horn, and that is perfectly blackened from inside. So no light can pass through this horn, or no light can enter from this side. Okay, so one end of the glass tube is connected to a perfectly blackened horn. Another end of the glass tube is connected to transparent window. So light can transfer through this window. This is an optically transparent window. Then experimental liquid is placed inside AB, and a circulating water jacket is surrounding this liquid. Okay, and this jacket is also having the glass tube which is transparent. Okay, so continuously water is going to circulate around the liquid in order to prevent the overheating, in order to avoid the overheating of the liquid. Then incident radiation is taken from a mercury arc or mercury source. Source S is represented here. This will produce number of spectral lines. Then particular filter is used, which is transparent to only particular wavelength, which produces the monochromatic light. Okay, filter produces monochromatic light. That means if red filter is used, only red light passes through it. When the blue filter is used, only blue light can pass through this filter. So monochromatic light is made to incident on the liquid. And a semicircular aluminum arc is used here. This R represents a semicircular arc, which is having the reflecting property. Aluminum arc is used, which is going to be a good reflector of light. So multiple reflection of incident light takes place here, and that means more illumination of the liquid. So more and more photons will fall on this particular liquid because of the reflection, because of this semicircular arc. When light falls from this one, light gets scattered. So that scattered light passes through this window, which is perpendicular to the incident light. Okay, so scattered light is studied, which is perpendicular to the incident light. Okay, so it is taken because to avoid the intensity of incident light. Okay, otherwise you cannot observe the scattered light properly. The intensity of incident light is much higher compared to the intensity of scattered light. That's why the study of scattered light is to be done perpendicular to the incident light, and that is made to pass through slits. Okay, these are small slits, and there is a convex lens in order to focus the scattered light on the spectrograph. This spectrograph may contain prism of high resolving power, and the spectrum can be taken on the spectrograph. You can take a photograph of that spectral lines observed, which is coming out of the window. Okay, a short focus camera may be used in order to record the spectral lines, or you can observe the spectral lines using the spectrometer. Okay, and you should have a high resolving prism in order to observe the scattered light. It is observed that the scattered light contains a strong incident line and some lines which are having lower wavelength and some lines having higher wavelength. Okay, the lines which are having the higher wavelength compared to the incident light are called as Stokes lines. The lower wavelength lines are called as anti-Stokes lines. Okay, and you can observe equally spaced, symmetrically spaced Stokes lines and anti-Stokes lines. We can observe a symmetry between Stokes lines and anti-Stokes line. That means if 4 lines observed in Stokes line branch or Stokes branch, 4 lines will be observed in anti-Stokes side also. Anti-Stokes side also. The parent line or incident line is very intense, okay, which is having very high intensity, and Stokes lines and anti-Stokes lines are having comparatively less intensity. You remember, the wavelength higher than the incident light in the Raman spectrum are called as Stokes lines. The lower wavelength lines are called as anti-Stokes lines. Okay. Otherwise, in terms of frequency, the higher frequency lines are called as anti-Stokes lines. The lower frequency lines are called as Stokes lines. Okay. So basically, Raman spectrum consists of symmetrically placed Stokes and anti-Stokes lines. Okay. With respect to the parent high intense line. So this is the experimental arrangement, and this is the observed Raman spectrum. You can refer to the shared notes in the Google Classroom for the explanation of this experimental study of Raman effect. Here I have not included that, only diagram is included. You go to the Google Classroom and you study the explanation of this experimental study. Let us take characteristics of Raman lines. Okay, what are the important characteristics of Raman lines? The Stokes lines are always more intense than anti-Stokes lines. Okay, so it is observed that Stokes lines are always more intense. The intensity of Stokes line is more compared to the anti-Stokes lines. The Raman lines are symmetrically displaced about the parent line. That means Stokes lines and anti-Stokes lines are symmetrically placed on both sides of the parent line. Already I have told you, if 4 lines are observed in Stokes branch, 4 lines will be observed in anti-Stokes lines branch also. And Stokes lines are having the higher intensity compared to the anti-Stokes lines. Stokes lines are having higher wavelength, they have higher intensity. The frequency difference between the scattered and parent line represents the frequency of corresponding infrared absorption line. Okay, so it is observed that the frequency difference between the scattered light and the parent light, incident light, that difference is exactly equal to the frequency of corresponding infrared absorption line, that is the vibrational line. Okay, it is observed that the vibrational spectrum contains the line which is equal to the frequency difference between the scattered line and the parent line in the Raman spectrum. Okay, you can compare the vibrational spectrum and Raman spectrum. There is a relation between them. I am not going to discuss in detail. Just to remember, the frequency difference between scattered line and parent line, which is equal to the frequency of the vibrational line. So this quantum theory of Raman's effect we'll discuss in the next video.